on Zoom. At least I have that recorded. All right, so chapter 6, land descriptions. All right, so just to let you guys know, land descriptions are how your land is legally described. Now, you might say, what the heck does that have to do with anything, or what do we need to do that for? Well, every single property has 2 addresses. Why? I don't know. I don't know who comes up with this garbage, but it is what it is. Every piece of property has 2 addresses. One is the legal property description, and the other one is the non-legal property description. Okay, the non-legal property description is your 123 Main Street. It's your address. It's the one you give the pizza guy. It's the one you give your friends. It's the one the mailman delivers to. But the legal property description is the description that is put on all documents that go to the courthouse. So if you were to go up to the courthouse on Monday morning and say, hey, I would like to see all the records on 8551 Rick Salu Lane, they would say, what are you talking about? We don't know what that is. And you would have to give them the legal property description in order to get those documents. Okay, so we know now that there's non-legal and there is a legal property description. Now, how does one determine what a legal property description is? Well, when the land is being developed, at that point, zoning will give it a land description. Now, how will they do that? Well, it depends. Where is the property located? Today, and in this class, we're going to learn about 3 types of legal land description methods. Methods that they use in order to legally describe the land. Now, where you are located is usually the method that they'll use. It's whatever's traditional in that area. It's whatever method is used in that area. Okay, so in more rural areas, right, country settings, they'll use something called meets and bounds. Okay, now in the book on page 19, it does kind of look like meets and bounds and the monument method are really 2 different types, but I don't want you to think that. Just put them together. They really are one and the same. Okay, so I don't want you to think that they're different, and I don't want you to try to learn the difference the way Susan wrote it. It was just not that great. I just need you to know meets and bounds. That's all I need you to know. All right, and so what is meets and bounds? Again, it is a method of describing rural areas, and you literally will see on a deed, it'll say, from the walnut tree, 150 feet over to Smith Lake, and then it'll say 120 degrees north, and then it'll say, 50 meters, south, whatever. It literally will give you the methods, and when I say meets and bounds, bounds are the method, like the monuments, the permanent structures, and meets is the measurement. So you can see right here, it says, and so again, this would be written in the deed. Beginning at the walnut tree at the southeast corner of the Mosley farm, proceed directly east to the west shore of the Smith Lake. I mean, literally, that's what will be written in, which is really crazy. Can you imagine sitting there with your buyer being like, well, this is the legal property description. We're going to have to measure 128 yards. And then, 120 degrees south, we're going to go. But that's how it works. So again, in more rural areas, they use this method of legally describing properties. Now, if you go, and by the way, I don't, again, agitated at Susan for using Florida as an example. Really, Debbie? Okay, well, here, but take, sorry guys, 2 rambunctious puppies. And a 12-year-old. Okay, so again, I don't like that Susan used Florida in your book as an example, because that was like the worst thing she could do, because there are 2 test questions on PSI on your test about government survey. That is the second type of method. It's called government survey. And government survey was used to accommodate westward expansion. So in those gold rush days, when everybody was flooding west to get to the gold, this is when government survey was created. So again, it started on the West Coast. So why Susan put Florida in there drives me crazy, because the two test questions have to do with the West Coast, because that's where government survey was born. Okay. Now, government survey is very different than meets and bounds method. It is, and you'll notice, if anybody has ever flown to the West Coast, especially in the evening, it's my favorite time to fly and look at the lights. The lights are just gorgeous. But even if you go in the daytime, you can look down from the plane. Always get the window seat. And when you look down, you're going to be blown away by the checkerboard pattern. It really looks like a checkerboard. And on the East Coast, it's more like wavy lines, and the streets are all, curvy. And there's a reason because of that. So on the West Coast, they followed railroad tracks. Railroad tracks are man-made. They tend to be straight, right? Whereas on the East Coast, we tend to follow the rivers. Rivers are wavy and curvy, and they kind of just naturally flow. And it causes the roads to be, and the neighborhoods to be, different size land. The lots are all different shapes and sizes, and the roads will change names without you even turning. It's kind of frustrating sometimes. But government survey really is that checkerboard. And so you're going to need to know some terminology. Again, we're not going to be selling real estate in the West Coast. Okay. Now you could if you want, but you'll have to get licensed over there. But you still need to know this for testing purposes. All right. The first word I need you to know is the word check. And so this entire big square is called a check. Okay. A check. So in government survey, they call these checks. We would compare them to counties. A county is big. Okay. So I need you to know the word check is this big square. And it's, again, we're looking at 24 miles by 24 miles. Okay. You need to know the word principal meridian, which is the north to south line, whereas the base line is east to west lines. Okay. There are 4 townships inside of a check. So you can see this, right? There's this right there is a, excuse me. Oh my goodness. This is called a township. And within each township, there are sections. So these are sections. Okay. And there are, so let's go down to our next page. So the township is 6 by 6 miles, which is called 36 square miles. And there are 36 sections in that township. Okay. You need to know one section is 640 acres. You need to know 1 acre is 43,560 square feet. You need to know 1 mile is 5,280 feet. These are numbers you have to remember. Okay. Now remember, 36 miles square is not the same thing as 36 square miles. So 36 miles square is not the same as 36 square miles. Those are two total different things, and you're going to see them on the test, where it'll say 36 miles square versus 36 square miles. Those are 2 total different things. So this is 36 miles square because there are 36 sections in here. 36 miles square would be 36 by 36. Okay. This is 6 by 6. That's 36 square miles. This is 36 square miles because it's 6 by 6. 36 miles square is 36 miles this way and 36 miles this way. So know the difference. That trips a lot of people up. this 640 acres is on your test and the 43,560 is on your test. I've never seen the 5280 on your test, but I don't know. I know for a fact you're going to see these two on your test. Okay. I don't want you getting too in depth with this. There's no questions that go into this much detail. Okay. But just again, this is how it works. Okay. If you're going to be selling houses on the West Coast, you need to know this. And apparently Florida has government surveys as well, but I don't want you to get too much into the weeds with this. This is really all I need you to know. There is a check, a township, and sections. And by the way, check again, it reminds me of a county. Townships just reminds me of a town inside of a county, right? And sections to me are like neighborhoods. These are the little neighborhoods within the town. Okay? So that's really all I need you to know. Don't get too much in the weeds with this stuff because you'll be confused. And the last one, so remember, we had 3, okay? We had our meets and bounds, we had our government survey, and the last one we have is called the lot, block, and subdivision. These are the 3 methods found across the United States that developers and zoning administration use to legally describe properties. Okay, any document that goes to the courthouse must have a legal property description on it. Now, you're going to say to me, I know what you're thinking already. How do I find out what's my legal property description or a house's legal property description? It's very simple. You look on the tax records. Okay, you look on the tax records. Okay, so lot, block, and subdivision is what is found here. We have lot, block, and subdivision in our area. And if you guys have ever driven, okay, into a new development and you've seen a bunch of dirt mounds, right? And you'll see a street and there'll be a little white sign at the front. It'll say lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, lot 4. Now you guys know what those are. Okay, it'll say, so for example, in this particular neighborhood, this would be lot 1, block A, and whatever the subdivision's name is. That would be the legal property description. Okay, so it's very important that you know this. What must contain a legal property description? Deeds. So deeds of trust. And by the way, deeds of trust, guys, are your mortgage, your financing instruments. It lets the world know that there is a lien on this property. Why does that matter? Do you and I want to buy a property that has a lien already on it? No, right? We want to buy a property that's free and clear of all liens. Now, if I need to borrow money to buy that property, I want to put my own lien on it, but I don't want to take over the buyer's, or I should say the seller's lien. Okay? You want your property to have no liens on it when you purchase it. So the deed of trust is sitting at the courthouse, and once it gets paid, it gets removed. Okay, so when you and I go to buy houses, or we help our buyer buy a house, we send it to a title company, who then the title company's job is to check at the courthouse and make sure that there are no deeds of trust that are outstanding on the property. And if there are, they will remove it prior to the buyer purchasing the property. Okay? Does that mean that if you owe money on a house, you can't sell it? No, of course you can sell it. You just have to sell it for more than you owe, so that when they go to collect the money from the buyers, they will take the money that's owed by you to the mortgage company. It'll take that money out and send it directly to the mortgage company to pay off that lien, so that the new buyer takes ownership without any liens on it. I want you guys to think very carefully about this. Let's say that you have a buyer who wants to buy this house at $300,000. Okay. Most buyers care about the color of the walls and the carpet and the appliances and the layout and the location. You know what's more important than all of that? It's the title. Are there outstanding liens on this property? That's more important than anything. Because if I'm spending $300,000 and then next thing you know, I find out it has a lien on it for $50,000. Well, now I suddenly owe $350,000 on a house that I had purchased for $300,000. Well, that's not fair. Now I owe more than I bought it for. That's not right. So we have to make sure that those liens get removed prior to the buyer buying. Okay. Leases should also have legal property descriptions, and of course, any liens outside of mortgages should also have the legal property description because it goes to the courthouse. Anything that goes to the courthouse, guys, that's all I need you to know. All right, Sam has obtained his broker's license, but is not functioning in a supervisory capacity. Instead, he is acting in the capacity of a salesperson. Sam is what? Is he a principal broker, a salesperson, an associate broker? None of these choices. What is Sam?
Salesperson.
So he's acting as a salesperson, but he has his broker's license. So would he still be a salesperson even though he has a broker's license? He's going to be an associate broker, isn't he? Right? He's not acting in a supervisory capacity. So we know he's not a principal broker. So we can cross him off, but he has his broker's license. But he's not the principal broker. He's just practicing as a salesperson. But because he has his broker's license, that makes him an associate broker. Okay? Salespeople have salespeople license and brokers have brokers licenses. And the broker's licenses, they have two choices. They could be a principal broker or an associate broker. Those are their choices. As an associate broker, they could either be in a supervisory capacity or a salesperson, but a principal broker is a supervisory capacity. They have to be a supervisor. They don't have any choice. All right, so let's look at question number 2. When supply is down and demand is up, what is this known as? What do you guys think?
Seller's market.
Mm-hmm. Definitely a seller's market. All right, 3. Of the given choice, the best way to describe an irregularly shaped parcel is what? Is it government, survey, geodetic survey, constant survey, or meets and bounds?
Meets and bounds.
Meets and bounds, absolutely. And just to let you guys know, honestly, this question is really like one of those terrible questions. If you're on the West Coast, I don't care if it's irregular or not. They're not going to just choose meets and bounds because it's irregular. They use the method that's customary in the area, right? But if it was perfectly square shaped, checkerboard fashion, we would already know government survey. That describes government survey right away. All right, a parcel of land that is 36 miles square would contain how many townships? What do you guys think? So we did this one already.
What, A?
B. It's going to have 36.
Yeah.
It's going to have 36 townships. Townships. Okay. Sections, it's going to be 36 times 36. Whatever that number is. All right, a parcel of land. All right, so here we go. A little bit of math. And by the way, guys, I don't want you getting too freaked out over math. Lots and lots and lots of people are freaked out over math. And there's really, I promise you, there is no need for you to be freaked out over math. There is only on the national portion only. There is, I believe, between no more than 10 questions, but I believe it's only like 5 to 7 questions. That's not that big of a deal over the scope of the test. So I don't want you guys to freak out. Honestly, loan officers need to know math, okay? Real estate agents don't need to know math. We really don't. And so they don't focus on it. So in the questions you will see are not big deal questions. Okay, so I don't want you to freak out. Honestly, this is way harder than any question I've ever seen on any test. All right, a parcel of land described as the south 1/2 of the northwest 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of section 12, township 2N R4E. Okay, how many would contain how many acres? So what I want you guys to do is I want you to remember 640. What was the 640? Who remembers?
That's 640 acres.
640 acres per one section. All right, so now you know it's 640 acres per one section. This is very important that you know this. Oh, where am I? All right, so 640 divided. Now notice there's half, fourth, and fourth. Okay, so we have 640 divided by 4, divided by 4, divided by 2. Okay, and that tells you there's 20 acres there. Okay, so that's where that 20 comes from. So you see the half, the fourth, and the fourth. That's where it comes from. But again, guys, this is way harder than any other question. I've literally never seen a question this complicated on the test at all. So I don't want you getting too much in the weeds with government survey because there are no questions like that on there. Okay, but there are questions like this. So let's take a look at this. Anna owns a lot that contains 27 acres and is 972 feet wide. If she buys the adjacent lot that has the same depth, but is only 648 feet wide, how many total acres of land will she own? All right, so we know one is 27 acres. Okay, we know it's 972 feet, but we don't know this number right here. We got to figure out this number. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to take the 27 times, remember, 43,560 is what? What's this 43,560? Where did I get this? What is this?
Square feet.
It's a square feet per acre. Mm-hmm. All right, so now I know it's 27 times 43,560. You get 1,176,120 square feet. Now I know that we've got 972, but I need to know this number right here. So I'm going to take that 1,176,120 and divide it by the 972, and that's going to give me this other number right here, which is 1210. So now I know that lot 2 is 648 times 1210. Okay, so I'm going to take the 648 times the 1210. Oh, and that gives us 784,080 square feet. But now I need to figure out how much acres is in this. Okay, well, guess what? I'm going to take this and I'm going to divide it by square feet per acre. And that tells me it's 18 acres. And so the 27 plus 18 is a total of 45. Does everybody follow along with me? I would never have been able to calculate that if I didn't know 43,560. So you're going to need to know that. All right, so let's just do some glossary review. All right, items that used to be personal property, but have now been attached to real property and are considered real property are fixtures. Rights to water from a lake, sea, or ocean, littoral rights. Rights to water from a flowing, a moving, a running source. Riparian rights. Water rights based on first in time, first in right. We know that's prior appropriation. Nothing on your test about that, but still good to know. Anything that runs with the land is called an appurtenance. The increase in value that results from assembling small parcels into one larger one. Now, look at this, increase in value. That tells you we're talking about money. So you know it's plottage. Okay, chattel, personal property. Personal property attached to real property, which is used as part of a trade or fixture, is a trade fixture. A trade or a profession, I'm sorry, is a trade fixture. You guys know if it's used as part of their business, it is a trade fixture, okay? The act of removing something that was once attached, you know that's severance, right? You're severing something, you're removing something. A person who has his or her broker's license, but is acting in the capacity of a salesperson for another broker, is called an associate broker. The type of modern legal description that describes the property's trees or boulders. So like if you see a question that talks about an old oak tree, I want you to know immediately we're talking meets and bounds. Okay, a method of legal description which describes property in relation to the intersection of a baseline and meridian, or if it talks about checks or sections or townships. We know checkerboard pattern. We know those West Coast. We know those are all government survey. Okay, a 6 by 6 mile parcel of land, township. A 1 by 1 mile parcel of land is a section. Number of feet in a mile, 5280, and number of square feet per acre. You got to remember the 43,560. I'm going to tell you that was on my test 20 years ago. You got to remember the 43,560. All right, so those are really, really important. Okay. Now let me see if I can figure this out, because I'm going to stop this. So stop recording.